The hardest part of SEO is those backlinks. It can be a bit hard to say which backlinks are beneficial or which are hurting your brand. Instead, it's never a good idea to go to Fiverr and buy 1000 backlinks. There's no reason to believe that you're in the right when you are on page 3. Do more. So if they have 2000 words, do 3000. But that's not very sustainable.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Ship It and Sip It. This week I'm excited to have Pete the SEO Wizard in the studio today. And Pete, you're the first expert and guest that I've had at the intersection of e-commerce and SEO. So I'm excited to open this world to our viewers and hopefully they learn a lot. But as usual, what have you shipped this week and what should people check out?
Well, thank you for that warm welcome. I've shipped a new school course and a community where I help people with their SEO journeys. That includes some audits, SEO audits, and some courses, like small courses on AI with SEO and some SEO fundamentals as well. It's a good starting point for anyone who's looking to improve their SEO game or their AI game. It's a two-pronged assault with my community.
Very cool. And we're going to talk about SEO. We can talk a little bit about AI along the way too, because that's important and trendy. But the new community is on skool.com, right? SKOOL. I'll put links to it in the show notes for anybody that wants to check it out. How do you like Skool? Yes. I think you're the first guest as well that has set up a Skool community. What do you think of the platform?
There's some things to improve, but in general, I think it's good, quite good. For example, there's no video upload feature, so you need to upload to YouTube or some other platform first. So that's separate. So for some people that can be a problem, but it's just a small roadblock for me. So I don't mind too much.
Yeah, right on. And we've been working together, me as an editor on the Clipwing team and you as one of our wonderful first clients. Thank you so much for trusting us. But I've had the pleasure of editing a lot of your recent audits, and we'll get into some of those today. But along the way, I've got to learn a lot about SEO, and I also got a lot of questions that I'd like to clarify with you from what you raised for those founders. So let's get started with the e-commerce stuff. From the outside perspective, it feels like e-commerce is both really saturated and quite consolidated into platforms like Amazon and other online shopping mega platforms. So is it still worth it for a founder to launch their own website and try and sell from their own website and grow traffic to that website versus, selling on a platform, setting up an Instagram store, something like that?
Yeah, you're right about it being saturated a bit. So you definitely need to find your niche and niche down. If you're going for something very general, you're gonna have a bad time with the Amazons of the world. It's not easy to try and be the jack of all trades, so to speak. So you need to niche down, and in that case, I think you have a good shot when you find your fit in the market.
And how did you get into this space? Were you selling things? Were you an SEO expert that just specialized in eCom? What's your background story?
It goes back over 15 years, almost 20 years. When I was a teenager, I started doing some light selling on a Finnish platform that is similar to eBay. So I started doing some selling over there when I was under 18 years old. I started with selling some video games and accessories. It was a good hustle back then. When I turned 18, I started my first e-commerce selling those same video games on my own web store. But over the years, the competition got a lot tougher in Finland where I'm from,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't that sustainable anymore because I didn't have $1 million or €1 million marketing budget that my competition had.
Right, right. So, what are you offering now to ecom brands in terms of consultancy or services that you can help with them with? Is it just a one-on-one service? Is it a full package? How do you like to work with folks that might want to reach out to you?
I do have two services. One of them is done for you. That's when it's a full service, and I don't expect a lot of input from the customer, but often we still work together. That way we can get a bit better result because I'm not the expert in their business. So usually it's a good idea to have some kind of input from them as well. And the other offering is a one-to-one consultancy. So I hold people's hands when they do their SEO, and in the beginning it's more me, but over time, over the course of working together, it's gonna be more them instead. So I just check their work and give some feedback. So those are my two offerings.
Right on. And you've said on X that you like to work a lot. I'm curious, since you've been doing this ecom SEO stuff for so long, what keeps you motivated? What keeps you interested in the space?
I think it's the people I work with. I get so much energy from helping so many people out. So I think that what keeps me going, and also the fact that every month, every week, there's something new to learn. For example, with all of the AI things that come up every day, basically, there's always something new to learn and teach other people about.
All right. And let's talk a little bit about how the space has changed over your experience. So you've also written quite a bit about how ecom brands shouldn't be so reliant on ads. One, because it's so expensive. Two, because it keeps getting more expensive. And three, because SEO is just your thing and you think it's better, right? So
Yes.
So let's paint a picture for folks that aren't as familiar with this. In terms of sales, how many people are coming to ecom brands from search results versus ads in general? Can you give us some broad numbers?
It's hard to say anything general because people have different marketing strategies. But if I had to give some number, I'd say it's more than 50% from SEO or organic search. I mean.
Okay, and I guess if you can you give us like a mini case study of somebody that you've worked with who maybe they used to spend a lot on these ads and they came to you and said, Pete, our ad budget is running out. We need to improve our SEO and get more sales via that. And so how did that change look like?
Yes, I have this one case study where the company was spending 4,000 per month on ads, and then we started focusing on their SEO instead. Over the course of 3 months, the company's ad spend was close to zero, but we still increased their sales numbers.
Very cool. You've said before as well that your SEO strategy makes or breaks your outcome. We've painted some broad numbers, but why is that true for ecom in general?
When it comes to e-commerce, whenever there's a big sale like Black Friday or holidays like Christmas and New Year's, the ad costs triple or something like that. I don't have the exact numbers because I don't do too much ads these days, but I've tried it. Like last year, I tried to do a bit of it over the holidays, and it was impossible due to the increased costs of ads. But with SEO, there's no such thing as increased SEO cost over the holidays. That's one thing that comes to mind.
Right on, right on. Let's talk a little bit about new companies, because I think we have an audience that is a lot of very early stage founders. Maybe they're in eCom, maybe they're in SaaS, maybe they're an agency. But I want to talk
Yes.
about getting new websites sort of on the right track with SEO early on, because it's one thing to give advice about, say, content keyword strategy to a website that's well established, that has a lot of backlinks, it has a pretty good domain rating, and you can just start targeting keywords in your niche and start getting traffic. Bada boom, bada bing, everybody's happy. But if you have a really new site, the domain rating's not that high, you don't have good authority, you don't have a ton of backlinks. So what can folks do to sort of start off on the right foot, get started with a smart SEO strategy that won't take forever, but will also work for the newness of their site?
Well, when I start with a new site, I always start with a topical map. I would create these clusters and a network of clusters, and I would start writing content to gain that topical authority with those clusters. That's my approach to a new business, and I actually prefer starting with a completely new company, because then there's no burden of the current content to take into consideration, because if you have some current content, let's say you have like 1,000 pages, it's a bit hard to start with a comprehensive topical map, because you have to take all of those 1,000 pages into account. So there needs to be a lot of moving things around. So that's why I personally prefer starting with on a fresh canvas, just so to speak.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into some of the topics I saw in your audits. And anybody who's interested in watching these, head over to Pete's YouTube. I'll put a link in the show notes as well. He's been doing audits of eCom and SaaS and other types of websites, just from folks that he found on Twitter, folks that asked him for an audit on Twitter. So let's see, the overwhelming theme that I've seen throughout sort of the first 5-6 audits I've worked with is you need more backlinks. So what can folks do to get more backlinks? What does that look like in terms of numbers per month? How many requests should they be making? How many people actually give those backlinks out of all those requests? Give us the rundown on backlink.
That's the hardest part of SEO is those backlinks. It can be a bit hard to say which backlinks are beneficial or which are hurting your brand instead. So I usually go into a tool like Ahrefs. I might look at the competition and who's linking to them, and I might reach out to companies that are linking to my competition already. That means that they are more likely to link to you as well. Usually it needs to be a monetary trade, so you should be prepared to put down a bit of money if you want to get any good backlinks. The website owners realize that those backlinks are valuable. Also, when they link out to you, they lose a bit of their authority. It's sort of a trade. So when you link out, you need to get back that authority from somewhere else. It's an ever-flowing thing. Be prepared to spend from 50 to up to 500 per backlink, depending on the quality. For outreach, at least 10 emails should go out every month. That's still a bit low, because sometimes it needs to be a numbers game. So it could go up to maybe 100 for someone who's starting out.
Right on. And I've also seen you sort of make jokes.
Me make jokes? No.
No. Make jokes about buying a package of 1,000 backlinks on Fiverr. I believe you had that tweet not too long
Yeah.
ago. So why is that a bad idea for folks, or is it?
Well, it's a very good idea if you want to harm your competitors. But don't do it. It's never a good idea to go to Fiverr and buy 1,000 backlinks, and it's due to the fact that all of those backlinks are of low quality, and usually the websites that are providing those backlinks are so-called link farms, so they have millions of outgoing links, and those are heavily penalized by Google. And if you get a backlink from 1,000 websites like that, you will be in that bad neighborhood as well. If you get like 10 of those backlinks, Google views it as normal, but if you start getting thousands, they will smell your dirty laundry.
All right. Let's talk a little bit more from the content side. And it was a little bit surprising to me to see you say that ecom websites need more content, basically across the board, from their product pages, their category pages, and they also need to think about having a blog, which, I don't know, maybe a lot of ecom brands that are more established would have a blog just to tell their story, etc. But not something I generally associate with e-commerce sites. So why is a lot of text content really important for these e-com sites?
Well, to answer that, in general, text content is so important because Google is not so good in viewing your images. They can use some machine learning to read your images, but they also need that text content. That's why it's so important to Google in general, but for e-commerce, it all comes down to the general public. When you take a look at what's already ranking, if you see that your competition has, let's say they have 2,000 words on this collection page, and you only have 200, and they are ranking at the top, and you're ranking on page 3, for example. So it only makes sense that you would mimic them to some extent to try and get that favor of Google as well. That's something that Google has viewed as valuable for the users. So there's no reason to believe that you're in the right when you are on page 3 instead.
Well, that's interesting. I don't know. If I think about a collection page on an e-com site, I generally want to be able to navigate through it quickly, see pictures of the products, see the names of the products, and find what I want to buy very quickly. I don't know. Maybe I'm a weirdo. I don't want to see like a lot of text.
Yes, you're right.
Confusing my decisions.
Yeah, you're right about that in terms of user experience. So in that case, in case of a collection page, usually the text content needs to be below the product images. So it should be at the bottom of the page to get that good user experience also.
Cool. All right. In the audit you did of MarketC, and I believe one other product, I'm not sure, I can't remember exactly which website it was for, you talked a little bit about AI-generated images in the blog. Now, in MarketC's example, they had, I guess you were discussing the main blog page, and there were just, a row of AI-generated cover images for each blog post. You said that was not so great. The second website, on the other hand, had a slightly different layout. They had AI-generated cover images for their blog, but they were all sort of modified into the style and the colors of the brand, so it kind of fit a little bit more beautifully, enjoyably for the user. So give us a rundown on AI-generated images in blog content. What are some risks? When can we use them? When can't we?
Well, I would never do anything 100% AI. So I might do something like the other brand did. So I would add some branding to the images, or I would maybe have one custom image and a couple of AI generated images on my blog posts. For example, obviously the best option I think would be to have all custom images, but it's not always sustainable. But the risk is that people view your blog article as low quality content when they see those AI images, and that will result them as not staying on your website, and that sends a very strong signal to Google. But in terms of Google, I think there isn't too much of an issue with the AI images in general, but it's more of a user type issue.
Got it. Let's stick with images a little bit longer. The second thing that you raised in the MarketC audit was that the post itself should have more inline images. It can be graphs, it can be charts, it can be, well, you can tell us what it could be. So there was a 2,000 word or so post, should contain like 4 images in line. Why is that important for Google? Why do you give that advice?
Well, that's important for Google since, as I mentioned earlier, they compare your website to other websites, and it's the norm to have a lot of images on your pages and on your blog posts. So if you are the odd man out with just one image on your blog article, you're not going to have a good time. And also, it has a huge impact on user experience when your post is not just one big block of text. So those images break it down nicely. So going back to the user experience, that helps with your rankings, since people are gonna want to stay on your website longer.
All right. We've mentioned a couple times, or you've mentioned a couple times, that you should look at what's ranking high in the SERP and try and either find backlinks that are similar to those high-ranking pages, or make content that's similar to those high-ranking pages.
Yes.
And my overwhelming fear here is that eventually all the high-ranking websites will just look the same. So, is that fear justified is the first question. And second is, once the top 10, 12, 15 websites have all these similar attributes, how does Google differentiate between them?
Yeah, your fears are completely justified, because I'm not the only one who thinks that you should mimic other websites to some extent. So it can be a bit of a mimicking game. So everyone tries to do the same as the top ranking page, and then they will change a bit, and people will try to catch up. When it comes to trying to differentiate, you can use those custom images, for example, adding some infographics and some other content that users will find valuable and shareable as well. That gives a good signal to Google when there's some talk about you in the social media, and also it will help you with those backlinks to get them naturally when people link to your infographic, for example. In terms of how to differentiate more, one option is do more. So if they have 2,000 words, do 3,000, but that's not very sustainable. So it's a better idea to try and find a bit different angle and do a bit better experience for the user who's searching for that exact term you're trying to rank for. So do more or do it a little bit better, either or.
Are there any other options? We talked a lot about content, but in terms of differentiating, instead of just writing blog posts, maybe free tools, mini directories embedded in the website, start a podcast and make podcast pages for all your episodes.
Yes.
What else can brands do to sort of not just chase blog content or high SEO rankings with articles?
Yeah, well, those free tools are cool, and also like I'm doing with the course on school. That's something that can differentiate as well. For example,
let's wrap up talking about Google with the recent update, the helpful content update that affected a lot of, I guess, more blog-based sites. I'm not sure how it affected eCom, but did it affect eCom sites? And those that fared well through that update, what were they doing right? And those that were affected negatively in terms of traffic, what were they doing wrong?
You're right that it affected blog type content more. For that reason, it didn't have much of an effect on e-commerce, since many of the e-commerce websites don't have too much blog content. But it also attacks these nonsensical product descriptions as well a bit. So if it's all non-edited AI content, it would have a bit of an effect on your rankings. In general, there wasn't too much of a drop with the e-commerce industry. And I already forgot about the other part of your question.
Yeah, that pretty much covers it.
Yeah.
I guess as a follow-up to that, has your advice to, we can broaden away from eCom, even SaaS and other websites, has your advice to them changed in light of the helpful content update in a meaningful way?
Well, it hasn't changed. I've never advised anyone to just go to ChatGPT and copy paste from there. So my advice is still the same, that you can use and you should use AI because everyone is using it, and it's a really good way of having more volume. So I advise everyone to use it, but use it wisely. So edit and prompt and basically edit everything that comes out of it, because
Right.
it can have these hallucinations, and it also copies some content from the web. So that's not the best idea to have something that's word for word copied from some other website.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about AI, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Since your course is introducing the topic as well. So, what tools do you like to use, and what do you do with them in terms of improving SEO results for websites?
Well, basically, I used to use a lot more of ChatGPT, but very recently, like a couple of weeks ago, when the Claude or Anthropic came up with their new model, I've been using that a lot more, and I use Claude for basically everything. I use it for my content as well. So I might do some prompting with for my X content. For my SEO purposes, I like to use tools like Koala. .sh, for example. That's a content generation tool that helps with you don't have to do that much of prompting yourself when it's already built in. And I also use Swift Brief for writing briefs that I can send to a writer, or I can just send them to my AI tool of choice.
Yeah, I just started using Swift Brief as well. I had them do a roadmap for us for the Clipwing site, and man, those briefs are huge and very detailed.
Yeah.
When you talk about writing like a 2,000 word blog post, I'm like, yeah, that's great. I've written hundreds, thousands of them over the years. But when you look at a briefs from Swift Brief, their outlines are like
Yeah.
29 pages. They're
Yes.
very
Yes.
in depth. I'm curious what your view of that is. Do you use that full outline? Do you try and fill that out with all that text? Because it feels like the blog post from them would end up being like, I don't know, a mini book.
Yeah. Yeah. I can tell you a bit about their new feature that's coming. I know this podcast is not about Swift Brief, but shortly they have
They're
this.
friends of the show. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, 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 for sure. So they have this AI writing that's going to be built into Swift Brief, and I tried it with one of their briefs, and I wound up with an article that was 7,600 words long. So
Yeah.
that's the scope of it when you try and go full on those briefs. But I think the original question was about do I follow it to a T?
Yeah, I mean, would you take that 7,000 and try and cut it down to something like 3, 4, or would you just give it a shot with the full content and see what happens?
Well, if it's a pillar post, going back to those clusters, pillar posts are the main topics of those clusters. I might go with a 7,000 word blog post, but when I go down to subtopics, I might cut down on those 7,000 words because it's too much. It's too much.
Right.
But when I would write the article myself or send it to my writer, I wouldn't tell them to follow the guidelines 100%. That would produce a bit shorter article when it's followed 95% of the time. So it doesn't
Right.
have to include absolutely everything.
That's good advice, and I'll put it to use here when I start cranking out our blog posts.
Yeah.
But let's stick with tools for a little bit longer. What else are you using? Not necessarily AI based, but what other tools do you use to just track, improve SEO efforts for websites?
Yeah, well, obviously I use Google Search Console. That's a given. You have to use that. And for SEO tools, there's a choice between Ahrefs, SEMrush, or Moz, or something similar. But my favorite tool is Ahrefs, and that's also a good option for anyone who's starting out, since they came out with the starter plan of 29 euros per month. That gives a good leeway to use on your own website.
For sure. All right, let's wrap up with some thoughts about the future of online shopping and maybe about the future of search as well. And let's see, what shifts or trends have you seen over the last few years? What do you think's coming down the line that you might be excited about in terms of how people buy online?
The trend currently is obviously AI, so Google's trying to roll out all of these AI features to their search, but it's not easy because for it won't work for all use cases, so they have to be careful with the rollout. And voice search has obviously been around for a while, but I think it's getting more and more useful with all of these new devices that are prone to come out, like some wearable gear, like maybe some sunglasses that have some features that you can use, but then in that case you would need that voice activated search. That's just one example, but I think voice and AI are what's popping in search recently and in the coming years as well.
Yeah, and in terms of the Google AI search results, do you think that's going to have an effect on things like, you know, listicle articles that are like best podcasting microphone in 2024? Will Google just be like pulling those from somewhere in the internet and the AI brain and feeding those to you as sort of an on-page result instead of sending you to a website?
Yes, they will. And that's probably gonna happen because that's gonna be a better user experience for the person who's searching. So they are all about the user. They don't really care about the websites, to be quite frank. Uh, but for e-commerce, it's not as clear cut because you need to go to websites to gain some more insight about the product. It's not possible to view it on search page, so it's a bit different.
Right, right. And do you think that's going to open up sort of a new challenge, new opportunity in terms of figuring out how to appear in those AI results? I'm sure that somebody's working on that already, right?
Yeah, it will, but it's early days, so it's a bit hard to say how it develops. Since uh, I think a regular blog post will still have a place because at least right now the AI search is not so fast and people want it fast or even faster, so they might go back to the regular search after trying the AI search for a while. So I wouldn't be too worried just yet, but it's a good idea to keep it in mind and see. It's all about testing. So we need to test and see what works for those AI things. But it's still early days to say.
All right, last question for you then. In your experience, what did you used to believe very strongly about either ecom or SEO that you've changed your mind about recently?
That's a tough one. Let's start with e-commerce. Well, I used to think that it's a good idea to try and cater to everyone, be the jack of all trades that I warned about in the beginning. But in the past years, I've like had the realization that that's not gonna fly. So you need to have that maybe not one person in mind, but like a very exact buyer persona in mind when it comes to your marketing, when it comes to your branding and your products, especially because those are what drives your growth and your sales as well. That's one thing that comes to mind about e-commerce. Did you want something about SEO as well?
Well, if you have anything that pops into your mind.
Yeah, well, it was a while back, but I wasn't too keen on AI. But not so recently, I've come to a realization that AI is needed, if not uh, necessary.
Right, right. Very cool. Well, Peter, thank you so much for your time. I will give links, as I said, in the show notes to school, to your X, anywhere else that your YouTube, anywhere else that folks should follow you to learn more about this.
Well, I'm on all channels, so I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook as well. And the new thing that everyone's talking about is Threads, so I'm there as well. But I'm not too active there just yet. But I'm trying to.
Right on, right on. And I guess the last question, since we talked about it a little bit, the school community that you've made, is that a free community? Is that a paid community? Is there some sort of premium offer that you're giving folks there?
It's a free community. to begin with, but there's also an upsell, so to speak, of getting that one-to-one access to me in terms of improving their or your SEO and getting that strategy on point and getting that help to get started. So that's there's that option as well for that additional handholding if it's needed.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much again for your time, and I hope you have a lovely weekend.
You too.
Ship it and sip it.
Thank you.